So did you? I can't remember what you said in the gym. Did you say who a good opponent would be?
Winner of Canelo and Crawford. The only thing is that I don't wanna have that rivalry with Canelo because he was my idol.
So Ilia Topuria walks out to that song in the UFC.
You said what?
Ilia Topuria walks out to that song in the UFC.
Did he? Oh, good. Good for him.
The fight world is buzzing with a matchup nobody saw coming. UFC lightweight champion Ilia Topuria stepping out of the octagon to challenge boxing's pound-for-pound king Terence "Bud" Crawford. With promoters like Turki Alalshik teasing blockbuster crossover events and fans hungry for the next spectacle, the stage can be quietly set.
Terence Crawford, huh? Check this out.
I didn't make much of it, yeah.
Little niggle here from Ilia Topuria. Of course, boxers make so much more money than elite MMA fighters, but saying that he would knock out Terence Crawford with the first punch he lands if they ever meet inside the squared circle. So this isn't an MMA call out. This is a boxing call out against Terence Crawford.
At the same time, an American journalist, Luke Thomas, has hinted about Ilia Topuria versus Terence Crawford if Crawford beats Canelo. Thomas said Topuria could talk a real game in MMA, and sometimes he could pull off some nice moves, but boxing is another story, and he thinks Crawford's elite skill, timing, and experience would be hard for Topuria to overcome if that ever went down.
Again, Ilia, it's like Ilia says lots of things. You know, he says lots of things, and that's in the MMA sense. He says lots of things, and then he actually does some of the more impressive versions of them. So, all right, fair play. But you know, I mean, brother, you've been here long enough, and you know I've been here long enough to see how many MMA champions have told us about the grandest things that they could pull off in the height of their excellence.
The crossover buzz comes with a giant catch, as analyst Thomas argues that this all depends on Terence Crawford's decision. Thomas comes back with an even dire warning. Yes, Topuria has a lot of swagger, and his MMA track record is very impressive, but boxing is a whole different science. Crawford's surgical timing, pinpoint accuracy, and decades of ring experience would create problems that the UFC lightweight champion has never encountered. To quote Thomas himself, Topuria's confidence is justified, but it is of the kind that Bud can disassemble and demolish over a 12-round fight.
Before Errol Spence fought Bud Crawford, he was on the pound-for-pound list. He, like Canelo, had never been knocked down. He was a southpaw with a hammer jab. He was physically fucking huge, and he would get in everyone's face and he would demolish them. He would simply break through their defenses and he would punish them. It was almost like, it's hard to explain his style, but it's like he wasn't a one-hitter quitter, but what he would do was just have this relentless ability to break down defenses and then torture them en route to a stoppage. It was, I mean, it's insane how many faces he broke along the way.
It's a storyline that is unlikely to appeal to fans of both sports. MMA champions inching toward a boxing crown and boxers lured in by crossover money. We have seen it explode in the case of Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, and we have experienced the opposite side of it when ambition killed someone's dreams.
A licensed judge said Francis Ngannou beat him. Conor McGregor, who had never done it before, fought Floyd Mayweather for 30 minutes. I mean, it's not as though that this is just some silly concept. What Anthony Joshua did to Francis is what should have happened. But that's what Floyd should have done to Conor, and it's what Tyson should have done.
Boxers entering MMA, MMA stars trying their hand at the boxing ring. This is never tiresome to fans. They've seen it pay off before, most notably when Conor McGregor made a circus-style affair with Floyd Mayweather a generational payday. But fans have seen it fall apart too when fighters realize the hard way that another sport translates to another reality. Now it's Crawford's turn again, already getting ready for the career-defining fight with Canelo Alvarez. His name is now thrown into another crossover fantasy. Top UFC lightweight champion Ilia Topuria is calling for him, but for now it is just a dream fight, maybe a headline, but most likely not a handshake. In addition, Crawford's reaction was incredible when reporters inquired about Topuria's remarks on media day. The experienced boxer was neither angry nor offended. He only laughed and offered an exquisitely timed retort that had everyone laughing. While Topuria may be dreaming of boxing success, race. Terence Crawford has real work to do. His fight with Canelo Alvarez represents the biggest opportunity of his career. He understands better than anyone how tough it is to compete at the highest levels of boxing. The American has spent years honing his craft, working his way up, and learning about his competition. The idea that some MMA fighter can just step into boxing and dominate demonstrates a fundamental lack of understanding of the skills required to compete at elite boxing levels. Ilia tweeted, "I won't talk about what would happen between me and Crawford in an octagon. I'll talk about what would happen in a ring. I put him to sleep on first contact." Professional analyst and former fighter Chael Sonnen has added fire to the discussion about Ilia Topuria's future by openly suggesting that the future lightweight king may have higher aspirations than modest MMA stardom. Sonnen discusses Topuria's best-in-class boxing instincts, his impeccable timing, acute countering ability, and nearly perfect distance management. Sonnen indicates those instincts would translate seamlessly into the boxing ring, which is more pure striking and wrestling doesn't save you.
If Ilia Topuria really could beat up Terence Crawford, why didn't he go into boxing? Ilia Topuria's story is a great story, and it actually didn't start with boxing. I've heard many people tell the story that way. That's inaccurate. Ilia Topuria's very first days of training in combat was in Greco-Roman wrestling. Not just wrestling, Greco-Roman specifically, and he was 14 years old. He then got over into boxing very quickly.
Sonnen is not just flattering Topuria, he is making a bold prediction. He references the champion's heavy hands, slick defensive reflexes, and accurate footwork as proof an undefeated Topuria could succeed under pure boxing rules. While Topuria continues crushing it in the UFC lightweight division, Sonnen points out that a jump to professional boxing would not be another sideshow, but rather would be the highest level up of striking game to showcase, in no uncertain terms, how elite Topuria is in the stand-up.
Once upon a time, and we had to trace Ilia back to his youth if he could really knock out Terence Crawford on first contact. He left the Olympic Games on the table. MMA is not contested. That is a tremendous dream with athletes everywhere, but particularly European athletes. Left it on the table, scratched, could never be pursued. College scholarship, MMA, not done anywhere. Cannot be pursued. So if he could actually knock out Terence Crawford on first contact, why did he choose MMA?
Chael Sonnen clearly wants the answer that if Ilia Topuria actually wants to create a historic legacy, turning to professional boxing may perhaps be the most daring and smartest choice of his life. But Sonnen took it a step further by questioning the buzz over Topuria's hands, even posing a question that stings just enough to drum up debate. If Topuria's boxing is as elite, why didn't he start as a boxer to begin with? That just one piece lays a new angle on it should Topuria stick to ruling the UFC's lightweight division, or is it time to put it all on the line and challenge himself in a boxing ring under the bright lights?
One thing that boxing has, while it lacks a competitive architecture, and while you can just go make the matches that you want to make, why did Ilia choose MMA? And I'm only asking a question because I find these arguments to be annoying. And I stand with Ilia. Ilia is our champion. After seeing Conor, who could not make an amateur Olympic team, go 30 minutes with Floyd, after seeing Francis Ngannou, who could not get a medal at the amateur championships known as the Olympic Games, beat Tyson Fury, according to one of the judges, I'll stand with Ilia.
And if there's one final silence over all the talk, the call will rest with Topuria. If Turki Alalshik comes in with one of the monster deals he's known for in pro boxing, Terence Crawford will stop being a fantasy fight and become a fight that could define Topuria's career. Obviously, Crawford would have a chance to make history by welcoming an undefeated UFC champ into his boxing world, not without advantages for both sides. But what we've seen over the years is Topuria has stepped up to every challenge and studied every fight as if it was thought out. If Topuria jumps to boxing, it will be because it improves Topuria's career and legacy that fighters dream about.
Understand why we're here. And how come it doesn't go the other way? And how come, if it's true, you didn't do it? Say whatever you want about Francis. Francis walked away from an active contract to pursue a dream that he believed to be true. I have a tremendous amount of respect for that. but everybody else seems to just talk about talking and meet about meeting. And if it were true, if it was ever true, if it's true now or it was true then, if it's true today or if it was true when you were kids, why didn't you do it?
Turki Alalshik wants another Terence Crawford super fight after the win against Canelo Alvarez. Crawford defeated Canelo via unanimous decision at Allegiant Stadium on September 13th. He is now the first male boxer to ever win the undisputed title in 3 weight classes, and in doing so, Crawford has cemented himself as one of the greatest of all time with the win. He jumped up 2 weight classes and came up with a masterful performance to hand Canelo his first loss at super middleweight, and following the win, Turki Alalshik has now proposed another mega fight for Bud Crawford. Alalshik wants to see David Benavidez come down to 168 pounds to fight Crawford. He wrote on X, "Can David Benavidez still make 168 pounds?" The whispers are growing louder, and the buzz is impossible to ignore. Ilia Topuria versus Terence Crawford may end up happening in a boxing ring. Can you picture the moment? The undefeated UFC lightweight champion walks out of the octagon and into the boxing ring to take on, arguably, one of the greatest pound-for-pound boxers of our generation. This fight is not about fists anymore. It's about legacy, risks, and possibly rewriting the history of combat sports. Fans are already discussing every angle, footwork, game plans, and how each fighter's style will ultimately break down the other. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Is this fight worth talking about, or will this really happen? And if this fight really happens, will it be Topuria or Crawford that wins under boxing rules? Let us know your predictions and breakdowns in the comments below. Before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell to receive updates on the possible super fight. The stakes are high, the potential is very exciting, and we will make sure to cover each rumor, analysis, and announcement as it develops.